Hello, guys, and welcome back to the With a Minute to Go podcast. As ever, if you're watching on YouTube, make sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video if you do enjoy, and smash that notification bell so you do not miss a thing. As ever, you can also find us on Spotify by typing in With a Minute to Go, or by clicking the link via our social medias on Instagram and Twitter at A Minute to Go Pod. Now, we've got a lot in store today for you guys, so obviously over the past couple of weeks, the transfer window has really kicked into action, so we'll be starting to build up to the new Premier League season, looking at confirmed and rumoured transfers, bringing back a feature that we've used in previous episodes, answering your questions about the new season from Instagram, and finishing with something that's been lacking in the last couple of weeks, which is Matt Versus. Now, obviously the last few episodes, myself and Lewis have sat down and recorded, but today I'm happy to say Matt is back on. Now, I know you've obviously been busy building up to the new season with Woking, so how's it all going, mate?
Yeah, first of all, it's great to be back on. It's been a busy few weeks. We started pre-season 3 weeks ago. We're right in the middle of it now, but it's been a really good 3 weeks. Obviously, the transitioning from, those who don't know, from part-time to full-time has been really good. We've brought in a lot of new players, and we spent the first 3 weeks really, first of all, getting to know them a little bit. Some of the players that we've brought in are actually ex-Woking players and have played for the club before. But getting them to know how we want to play, what we want to do, what we want to achieve, and we've had 3 pre-season games, and I'll be honest, they've all been really, really positive. So it's been great. It's been great to be back on the training pitch and working hard, and that's what I love doing. So unfortunately, I haven't been around to record any of these, but yeah, I've had a really good 3 weeks.
Yeah, it's good to have you back on, and obviously Woking have a decent sort of core to their squad, and they've obviously added a few players now they've gone full time, so that must be nice to get a bit of extra talent in there.
You want the best players, don't you? That's the thing. We identified a lot of players in the off season, or probably prior to the off season, that we felt were going to be big players for us, or could be big players if we were to bring them to the club. And I think all but 2 we've managed to bring in. And I think when you're looking at 10 or 12 new players and you've only maybe missed out on 2 targets, I think you've done pretty well.
Yep.
I know this episode is going to be sort of quite heavily transfer based, but talking about Woking and our sort of transfers and signings, we've really, really pleased with what we brought in so far. We hopefully add a few more in, but if you've got 12 players that you want to bring in, you bring 10 out of the 12, you're probably pretty pleased.
Yeah, definitely, and that just highlights it's a busy time for all, no matter what level, the Premier League or the National Leagues. It's a busy time this time of the year. Obviously, the last Matt Versus we did was nearly 2 months ago. I looked up on the 4th of June, and Lewis took it 4-3 on the tiebreaker. So
what a day that was!
It was. I think it's fair to say that was a rarity.
That was a bit harsh. I pushed in close on quite a few before that.
Yeah, I think we had another episode that didn't go out that you did when a Matt Versus on.
The lost episode, I think we're going to call it.
The lost episode, yeah. But yeah, you've had a couple of months away from it, so I'm sure you're keen to get back and win today's contest. Right then, we'll move on to our first topic today, and that's transfers. Obviously, lots of speculation and rumours going around this time of the year, as there always is, so we'll be honing in on the bigger and, I'd say, potentially more likely moves involving the Premier League. Now, starting by looking at, probably for me, the biggest transfer done in the last week. I don't think there's anything official yet, but for a fee of around £34 million, Raphael Varane will be joining Manchester United. Lou, it's going to be a good move, isn't it?
I don't think it's, I don't think you can go wrong signing Varane. 4 Champions Leagues, 2 or 3 La Liga titles, World Cup winner, 28 in his prime. He's one of the best centre-backs in Europe, and United have got him. United, I think I said it a few months ago that it's still probably, is in the pipeline. You hear rumours, and United have gone and done it really, because they've backed up Sancho and got Varane in, and I think that's exactly what they needed. Last year, their defence, it was okay, but then they were too defensive at times because they had to play 2 defensive midfielders. Maybe now having Varane in there gives them a bit more protection. They don't need to do that. They can be more adventurous going the other way.
Yep.
He's got pace. We all know about Varane's pace. And he'll complement Maguire, I think, because obviously Maguire lacks a bit of pace. but you need them two different defenders. Vidic and Ferdinand, that kind of partnership. You can't compare them to that yet.
No, I was going to say.
But why not? Look what Varane's won.
Well, if they can get anywhere near that, they'll be on a winner.
Yeah, I mean, it's a no-lose situation. I think you can't go wrong signing Varane. It seems very cheap. That's because obviously in the last year of his contract, and Real didn't want to let him go for nothing. So United announced the other day that they had agreed it, and fair play to him, because he's one of them players you look at over the years and you think, oh, he's never going to leave Madrid, never going to leave. But he's gone. Ramos is gone. The money's not there at the minute in Spain.
Yeah.
And Man United have capitalised on that. So it's got to be a good signing, isn't it?
I'm going to play devil's advocate a little bit on the signing, and I'm not in any case suggesting it is a bad signing. And I think any Premier League club, any top club in Europe would be absolutely delighted to have Rafa Varane lined up in their back four. But I mean, he didn't have a great European Championships, but nor did France really as a team. It's difficult for us to maybe judge him on recent performances or his last season, because actually we don't really get much of the La Liga football or get an opportunity to watch La Liga football. I watched him in the two legs against Manchester City, and I was extremely surprised how poor he was, especially in the Manchester City home game, where I think the first goal or one of the goals he got robbed for the ball.
Yep.
And I'm not at all saying he's a bad signing and whatnot. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out, I think. I think they might say that the money is maybe a little bit short in Spain and with Madrid, and we've seen it with Barcelona as well. I think they've got 8 players up for sale to try and bring some funds into the club. But I think if Madrid really wanted him, I'm sure that there's a package that they could really offer him that would make him stay. That's my question.
Yep.
Man United are a massive pool. They're a world, one of the biggest clubs in the world. But are they currently? Have they got the pool that they had 10 years ago? I don't think so. They certainly haven't got the quality of players they had then. They certainly haven't got the quality of the manager. And I think, the question marks are still at the manager's door. And it's a great signing. And I think him and Maguire could have a fantastic partnership. Let's be honest. Over the last 2 years, has there been question marks on Harry Maguire himself? And with the big price tag, but we saw over the summer for England, what good quality he has, and as a pair, no doubt. And I've seen actually a lot of talk that they might go to a 3 at the back, and that, I think, with those two in it, would be extremely solid. But I'm not. I won't get too carried away. It is a good signing for Man United. I think. I kind of feel like Man United are probably not first choices for people at the minute. It sounds silly. I think
it's strange because we discussed Sancho a few weeks ago, another big one they've signed. They pulled 2 out of the hat.
Yeah, they're always going to be able to attract big players because they're Man United and they've had a fantastic history and they have still got some quality players. You got Paul Pogba, Bruno Fernandes, we just saw Harry Maguire, signing Jadon Sancho, Edison Cavani, fantastic player. I kind of feel like they're probably second fiddle now to Manchester City for sure. And I think Chelsea, because I think Chelsea's sort of pulling power, and you see the players that Chelsea have brought in, and will probably still bring in before the end of the window. So it's a good signing. I think overall it's a good signing. Be interesting though, because I say that I didn't watch him a lot last year. As I say, not privy to watching a lot of La Liga, but when I saw him in the Champions League, wasn't the Rafa Varane I sort of have watched in years gone by.
Yeah, I mean, I get that. I mean, I think Real Madrid have had, they've struggled the last couple of years as a team, really. So I think that's probably slightly harsh, but I do see where you're coming from. He had a couple of bad games in the Champions League. I did watch Real Madrid, and they weren't amazing. I think it was that first leg at their training ground against Chelsea, and the first sort of 20-30 minutes, Chelsea absolutely pulled them apart, and he was part of that performance.
So the Chelsea and the Man City game.
Yeah.
If Man United are signing these players to win the league, which, let's be honest, why would they not be?
Yeah.
Playing against 2 league championship rivals, which Manchester City and Chelsea certainly will be this year, putting those sort of performances.
Yeah, but you've got to look at it as he was playing in a completely different team. You take him out of Real Madrid and put him into another team, and you don't know what you're going to get. It could. I mean, I think it's going to go.
Would Man United beat
well.
Real Madrid last season?
It'd been a close game. Real Madrid weren't great.
Real Madrid weren't great, but you couldn't guarantee Man United are a better team or better squad than theirs, could you?
Maybe he needs a new challenge. Maybe, I mean, obviously money is a large part of it. He's shown what he's, the quality he's had before. Ramos struggled last year with form and fitness alongside him, so that doesn't help. The players around him struggled, so that didn't help. They had a lot of injuries.
It will be interesting to see how he starts.
Lots of players were bad last season, and without the fans, everyone says that it was a weird season. Let's see how it goes. But you can't just look at an individual in the team like Real Madrid and say, "Oh, he's not going to do well at Man United." Because he's had one bad season or a couple of bad games.
I'm certainly not saying that. I just it will be interesting to see. He's played for Madrid for a long time. To make that step now to the Premier League, it'll be interesting. I think it's probably easier for an attacking player to adapt to the Premier League. It is a league like no other. He's known as one of the best in the world, or regarded as one of the best in the world. It'd just be interesting to see how he fares, especially early on next season, because there will be a lot of pressure on Man United to start well, and there'll be a lot of pressure on him and Harry Maguire to do well for United, be solid at the back. So it'll be interesting to see how that starts.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I mean, I think Varane signed for Real Madrid, I think 10 or 11 years ago, when he was very young and obviously worked his way up. I honestly think a big reason as to why he's left is because Ramos has left. And it almost feels like an end of an era. There's older players at Real Madrid. I think you look at Cruz and Modric as well that are coming towards the end. Benzema's no spring chicken, I think it's fair to say. So it's more of a rebuilding patch for them now. But looking at Varane again at Man United, now, I think this past year, Lindelof alongside Maguire has been a liability in my opinion. Now, Maguire's had his fair share of critics, but I think that always comes with the territory when you're an English player and you come with that price tag of 80 million. But Maguire alongside Varane, slightly different centre-backs, a ball-playing centre-back, I think it's fair to say, and Maguire with the sort of more no-nonsense look on the game.
I think that's a bit harsh on Harry Maguire, isn't it?
I actually think Maguire's better on the ball than Varane, in my opinion.
I think during the Euros, I think some of the times where he stepped out of defence and his forward passes, breaking lines, I think it was highlighted by a few of the pundits, wasn't it, as well, his ability to do that and how that was such a positive thing for him. And I think if he can do that more often for Man United and get the ball to the likes of Pogba and the likes of Fernandes, and I think it'd be a bit harsh to label him no nonsense, in my opinion.
Okay, maybe that was slightly harsh. Okay, but you've got two centre backs that are decent with the ball at their feet. That's obviously going to help Man United. Maguire on the left or Varane on the left? I think they've both. Ramos has been on the right, Varane's been on the left, so they've both played on the left. I think Maguire has done bits and bobs there as well. Which way round would you have them? Maguire in the Euros, I think he was on the left.
Yeah, I think that's where he's played. Whenever I've seen him, he's been playing on the left, whether that's back at Leicester. So, yeah, I think he'll stay on the left. He's the captain. He'll play where he wants to play. And Varane will just come in. I don't think it matters much. Varane's right-footed, so maybe that's where he's wanted to play all these years, and he's not been able to because of Ramos. And he plays there for France, I think, especially if Kimpembe plays alongside him or whatever. So he's used to playing on the right. But I don't think it's too much of an issue.
It will be interesting because, I mean, I've listened to a couple of things on radio and read a couple of articles with regards to them going to a 3 with possibly the imminent sign of Kieran Trippier, which is still whether that happens or not,
right,
and whether Trippier and Shaw become wing backs, and they talk about Wan-Bissaka tucking inside and being more a third sort of centre half. So it'd be interesting to see where that is. And to be fair, we look at Trippier and Shaw and what they did as wing backs in the Euros when they did play that. And with those 3 as centre halves, okay, Wan-Bissaka not naturally a centre half, but certainly has the qualities that could be. And I think when you look at some of the best teams that play with 3 centre backs, one of them is quite generally a full back. We've seen Kyle Walker do it quite often for England. having the ability to be able to step out with the ball. Harry Maguire certainly, if he played left side centre half, could certainly step out with the ball, like we just said. You know, that really gives them a solid base. You think that would then alleviate sort of the problems of the McTominay, McFred combination in midfield with McTominay and Fred. Like, you'd only have to have one of them because you play Pogba alongside him. Then it leaves you a front three, right? Fernandes, Sancho, Cavani, Rashford, Greenwood. And then you've got real options there, and no doubt, maybe that is possibly a way to go for them.
Yeah, I could see that. I think we won't touch on it too much today, but I've heard rumours about Pogba could be off. Not sure. Is that any truth to that, Lee?
He always could be off. I think there's always talk of him going. I don't know. No one knows.
No.
I don't know if he'll sign a new deal. It doesn't look like he will. PSG want him, but we'll see how it goes. It's so hard with him. You don't know whether he's coming or going. Literally. So.
Final thing on Varane. You think it'd be a good move overall in the end?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, Matt?
Yeah.
We'll see. Of course he will. I think he's a world-class player. Yeah. I'm just trying to
no, it's fair enough. No,
pick a few holes in it.
I think Man United finished second last year, was it? So they're making improvements. If they bring in Tripper as well, hell of a signing that. Bring Wan-Bissaka inside. I think it's fair to say he's more defensive. I think going forward is a bit of a joke, to be honest. So yeah, good base for them going forward, I think. Now, the next big move comes in the form of an Arsenal player. Now, after the whole fans' protest against the owners, I feel as if probably this summer the Cronkies had to give licence to spend and bring in fresh blood in order to try and appease the fans in a way. Now, Ben White, young English centre-back from Brighton, only 23 years old, and he didn't really feature in the Euros. Showed a lot of promise, though, throughout last season. And today, it's obviously been announced he's joined Arsenal for an undisclosed fee, but we believe it's around 50 million. Lewis, pleased with this?
Yeah, I am pleased with it. I didn't see too much of him last season, to be honest with you. He's one of the ones who went under the radar. There was lots of talk last summer about him going back to Leeds. And then I didn't really realise how much he actually played for Brighton. I think he played about 34 Premier League games because he plays in that back three, and they've got so many giants at the back. You just really miss him because he's not that tall.
Yeah.
But when I saw him play for England, he made his full debut, first start against Romania in a friendly, and I just thought, yeah, he's got to be going to the Euros. And they, the next day, I think they decided that he was going to replace. I think it was Trent probably pulled out. Because he just looked good, and he looked calm, and looked assured, and looked like he can defend, which is what you want from a defender. So it's a good deal. It's a lot of money, but I'm not unhappy at Arsenal spending that money as long as it works out, because we've been asking them to spend money. We can't then moan that we're spending too much. This is, we many times, years gone by, Arsenal fans have moaned because we haven't bought someone because we didn't pay what the club wanted. Now we've paid what the club wanted. You can't moan. He's 23 or whatever age he is. I think he's 23. You could be the centre back for 6, 7, or 8, 9 years, and at 50 million will look a bargain. So
yeah,
I think it's a good deal. But there was a lot of pressure on him to perform straight away, I think.
I'm absolutely delighted. I'm so excited, to be honest. I didn't realise. Well, I knew it was going to get done, and I flicked on my phone late afternoon and saw it was official and had been official for a couple of hours. And I think it's a fantastic signing. Like Lewis said, he's only 23. He's English, so that's great. He's proven in the Premier League. He's had a good season in the Premier League.
That's a big thing, isn't it?
Before that, had a great season at Leeds in the Championship where he was outstanding. He's a ball-playing centre-back, which people might laugh, but Arsenal's best ball-playing centre-back last year was David Luiz, and actually a player that I, as much as he had his moments, was happy when he was in the team because he brought a lot to the team. Obviously, he's not here anymore, so Arsenal needed to replace him, and they've replaced him with a real long-term option, 50 million. You're going to pay a little bit more because he's English, but geez, I think he could be really good for Arsenal. I think it's a big coup. Arsenal are a big club, but they certainly haven't been sort of dining at the top table for a while, have they?
No.
So to bring in a player like that I guess not everyone's after at the minute, but another season at Brighton and playing like he is, I think everyone would have been after him. So to get him now is great. They can start to really build that spine of the team I think more than likely we'll see him sort of partner Gabriel in a 4. I think that's probably quite obvious. I think I'm really excited to see him start playing for Arsenal. I might even buy a Ben White shirt.
I was thinking about it, admittedly. But there's been a lot of talk about the price tag. Obviously, Varane to Man United for maybe about 34-35 million, and Ben White to Arsenal for 50 million. Now, Lewis, you said obviously you're not bothered about how much we spend, and I agree with you. I don't care at all how much we spend. Could that be English tax though? Do you think?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Probably. It's always, especially between English clubs, they had a bit more on. But the difference with Varane, as I said, he's in his last year of his contract at Real Madrid. Real Madrid just wanted some money. He wasn't going to sign a new deal, whereas White had probably about 4 years left on his Brighton deal because he only signed a new contract last summer. So that's it. You're paying up someone's contract basically, or you're paying for how long they've got left. So, yeah, not a problem paying 50 million. He's the most expensive defender we've ever bought. I think it overtakes Mustafi, which is good to get that out of the way. And I think it'll be a good deal. It's interesting he's taken the number 4 shirt, which is a bit of a blow to Saliba, who's gone out on loan, but I don't think there's much future left at Arsenal for him. It appears a bit of a kick in the teeth, really, to take his number, even though he's not at the club. But I think that's a bit of a hint, as I said, that he hasn't got a future. But maybe White is the future. And good luck to him because we need him to be good, basically.
We do.
We can't afford it to not be successful this signing.
I think the whole Varane White comparison is great. Sort of football fan on Twitter comparison.
It's exactly that. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Lewis is right in what he said. I think Ben White's got 3 years left on his contract. Varane's got 1. Rafa Varane's 28. Ben White's 23.
Yeah.
He's English as well. Of course, you're not going to pay 50 million for someone who's got a year left on their contract. Is Rafa Varane worth 50 million? Quite possibly. If he's got 4 years on his contract, how much are Man United having to pay for him? That's the question.
More than double, I reckon.
So, I mean, look, 50 million was the price tag. That's what they had to pay. And fair play to Arsenal. They paid it. And I think there's been a lot of times where they'd have gone in for a player and the price tag would be X amount and they didn't want to pay it or they couldn't pay it. So I think, kudos to the club because they've, and maybe to Mr. Kroenke, he's put his hand in his pocket.
I think he's had to.
And brought in a really good centre-back and hopefully we can see a couple more come through the door.
I think the time has come where, like you said, I think the famous 40 million and £1. I think that was for Luis Suarez. The time has come really where they can't mess around, and we needed a centre back alongside Gabriel. Rob Holding for me not good enough. We've trialled quite a few players in there. Obviously Sokratis, Mustafi, Chambers at times. They're all not really good enough for where we want to be, and that probably reflects where we finished this year. So great signing for me going forward. I'm very pleased with that. Right, we'll move on then. They're probably the 2 more guaranteed transfers, I'd say, for now. We're going to move on then to some rumours. Now, the first one being Erling Haaland potentially to Chelsea. Lewis, there's been a little bit of chat about this. I know Chelsea do have the funds to get him, and obviously if they waited a year, I think it's fair to say a lot of other clubs would be in for him. Yeah,
so, he's Chelsea's main target. Main striker target anyway this summer, but Dortmund don't want to sell. They want to keep him, and they're adamant that they don't want to sell him at all in this window. They keep saying it, but Chelsea, if Chelsea come up with some massive offer, I don't think they will turn it down if it gets to about 150 million or something like that, which would be a ridiculous amount of money. But is it really though? Is it a lot for a player who's guaranteeing you goals? He's just turned 21 like a week or two ago. His goal scoring record is, only Ronaldo and Messi are better than him. Goals in the last couple of years is just ridiculous. Obviously Lewandowski's up there as well, but he's 10 years older. If you're Chelsea, you get it. If you've got the money, you get it done because next summer, as you said, he has a release clause which will be perhaps about half of what Dortmund would accept now, and lots of clubs would be able to afford him. Barcelona, Real Madrid, Man United, Man City, and it won't be as easy for Chelsea to get that done. Whereas this summer, if you can get it done, you've got yourself an unbelievable striker for years and years. And that would probably make them, I don't know about title favourites, but very close to being, very definitely second favourites of City if they're not already. Will it happen? I don't know. It's all down to Abramovich. And
let's say he did come, and something we've spoken about briefly was his style of play. I think on Tuesday we spoke about it. The fact that in the Bundesliga, and we saw it with Aubameyang as well before he came to Arsenal, the defences play with a much higher line, and that's a lot of the YouTube compilations of Haaland or Aubameyang came with those sort of goals, running in behind with 30, 40 yards ahead of them. Would Haaland maybe struggle a little bit more in the Premier League when he first came?
No, I don't think so.
No? Okay.
He's a goal scorer. Chelsea create so many chances and miss so many chances. How many last year Timo Werner missed? Absolute sitters that Haaland would put away with his eyes closed. So I don't think he'll have them problems. He can score any type of goals. He's not just running in behind. He's got pace. He's got unbelievable height. I think he needs to work a bit on his heading for someone who's that tall. But no, you can't. At the minute, there's no reason to doubt him. He's just been that good. 41 goals last season in all competitions at the age of 20 in his first season in the top league in Europe. I mean, you can't really argue with that. And Chelsea, 150 million, it's not cheap.
No, not by any stretch.
Maybe in the long run it could be, because you could
as an investment.
You could win him more. I mean, they won the Champions League last year without him, but the titles they could win in the next 4, 5, 6 years if they got him. So we'll see.
I think last year for the Champions League anyway was a slightly stranger year. There was no real standout clubs. I'm not trying to say it just because it was an all-English final or Chelsea won it in the end, so I'm not bitter about it at all. But it just seemed like there wasn't a standout club. Now, and we saw that with the Premier League as well. Obviously City winning it, and Chelsea not winning it. Matt, if Haaland does sign for Chelsea, do you reckon they'd win it?
It'd be very exciting if he does. I think it's difficult to look past Man City, especially with a couple of transfer rumours we might talk about in a bit.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. But Chelsea showed in the second half of last season the quality that they have. We look watching some of their players in the Euros, particularly. Look at someone like Jorginho, who was absolutely outstanding. I think there's been a lot of calls for him to win the Ballon d'Or this year. It'd be interesting to see what happens. Won both the Champions League and the Euros, and played an integral part in both. I was talking to a couple of people the other day, in the know probably, and they were definitely pushing his name towards that. So it'd be interesting to see.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, Messi will win it.
I hope not.
I think Messi will win it.
Well, he's won the his first trophy.
Did he win it though? Or did other people do well as well?
No, but other people do well. Would you? Yeah. Jorginho was just in 2 teams that won the competitions. Okay. If you look at it like that, I don't know.
It'd be nice to see someone other than Messi and Ronaldo win it. I think
that's fair.
Going back to Haaland, I think it'd be really exciting to see him in the Premier League because he has got immense talent, and see sort of what return he can get in terms of goals. Lewis is right in what he said. It comes to next summer, every man and his dog will want him because everyone can afford 60 mil for a player like that, and then it'll be an unbelievable bidding war in terms of what they can pay on wages and whatnot, and where he actually really wants to go. Cause
it'll be down to that. Where does he want to go?
You'd imagine that there'd be at least six Premier League clubs that probably will pay the 60 mil certainly for him.
100%.
There'll be the big Spanish clubs, Italian clubs. Bayern Munich will certainly be sniffing around because anyone who can get a player like that for 60 mil, it will be an incredible summer if we get there. I think Chelsea are probably the only ones that are going to go and spend that sort of money straight off the bat.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
We're talking about Man City, and they probably could, but whether they would is another thing. But if they get him, will they be guaranteed to win the league? No, but will it be a hell of a title race between them and Man City? It will be, certainly.
I think looking at it as an Arsenal fan, it's quite sad, to be honest, because you've got 3 clubs out and out miles in front of you, and we're years behind. If they were to sign Haaland, I reckon we'd be 7 or 8 years behind them.
Only 3 clubs ahead of us.
Well, 3 clubs clear of us.
No, you forgetting about Liverpool?
No, Liverpool are included.
Man United?
Not clear of us.
Okay.
We beat them last year. They didn't beat us in the league.
Okay. We signed Varane and Sancho, and we've got Tavares and Albert Sambi Lokonga. I don't know. That's the levels. That's the levels we're on. But if you want to, Man United, Man United, the streets ahead. They finished second. You said it yourself. They finished second.
I always feel like we can do it against United, though.
Yeah, in a one-off game, but over 38 games, they'll finish above us next season. That's what will happen. Yeah, they're more likely to win the league than us.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, all right. Yeah, probably not a great point. Next rumour we'll move on to is another Chelsea one. That's Jules Koundé potentially to Chelsea. Lewis, I think you know a little bit more about this, but from what I've seen, not a great deal of him, but he looks all right.
Yeah, so I think as reports, you have Fabrizio Romano, you see a lot from him, and he knows his stuff, and that Chelsea have already got an agreement with Koundé, personal terms and all that stuff. Just need to sort of fee out with Sevilla, and I think Sevilla are happy to let him go if it's the right price, because they like to raise some money. That's what they do. He came out of the blue, really. He's been linked with a lot of clubs, including Arsenal and Tottenham and United early this summer, but it came out of the blue, really, that Chelsea were basically in advanced talks to sign him earlier this week, I think it was. Centre-back, quite a short centre-back, 6 foot, if not a little bit less.
Good on the ball, then, I assume.
Yeah,
it has to be.
Good on the ball, got pace. Can play right back potentially, but they don't really play right backs. They play wing backs, so I don't know if he'll slot into the right of the back 3.
As per Azpilicueta and Reece James, I don't think there's any room for that sort of position.
No, so it's interesting to see where he fits in. But I heard something the other day that of Chelsea centre backs, Rudiger, Azpilicueta, Thiago Silva, Christensen, all 4 out of contract next summer. And Zuma's only got 2 years left, but he could be on his way anyway. Zuma, so they're bringing this bloke in because their defenders are aging. I think they're all above 30. Azpilicueta, Thiago Silva, and Rudiger, and as I said, they've all got less than a year left on their contract. So Chelsea are taking advantage of other clubs not being able to spend to bring this bloke in, and was he 22 years of age?
Yeah, fairly young.
He may not have to start every single game to start off with because they've got these other players, but may see the best of him in a year or two. But I think it'll be a good signing. As I said, I haven't seen too much of him myself, but he's played for France, so to play for the France team the last couple of years, even just to be around the squad is quite an achievement. So I think it'd be a good one. Yeah.
Matt, have you seen much of him or not? I can't say I have, so I have to ask you to.
No, honestly, I can't say I have either. But I think he turned down Spurs, so
he's already in my good books then.
Yeah, I'll end up behind him, to be fair. But no, I don't really know a lot about him. It'd be an interesting one. Like Lewis said, there's a few players out of contract next summer. Kurt Zuma's, I think, linked with West Ham, isn't he? So, it'd be an interesting one. I think I've heard a lot of good things about him without really seeing much of him.
Sounds like a modern day centre back.
Yeah, as I said, a little bit short.
Nothing wrong with that, though.
No, I'm not saying it is, but interesting to see how he does in the Premier League. There's not too many centre backs you say are short in the Premier League. It's a strange one. I mean, Ben White's not the biggest, but he's over 6 foot. I don't know. It's an interesting one. See what happens. Not definite, but it looks like it's quite advanced. It could be, but Chelsea could be a smart deal, as I said, and he might not be starting the season as their first choice at the back, but it's always good to have options.
I think it's always the way with. Well, he's not Spanish, but he comes from the La Liga. Obviously, that's I think it's fair to say a less physical league, so you've got to be good with the ball at your feet, like a Varane or a Ramos. So it'll be interesting to see how he does at Chelsea. And like you said, he's been in around that France squad, and that's a decent achievement at his age. I think it'll be a good deal for them. Right then, we'll move on to a couple of Manchester City rumours, and we're going to start with one that's surfaced a little bit more today. And it's a good job we didn't do the podcast yesterday because we wouldn't have known about this. But Grealish to Manchester City. Now, I think there's been a bid of 100 million today. That would be one hell of a sign.
Can't turn that down, can they, Villa? I don't think so.
Have they not accepted it already?
Don't know. Have they?
No.
But they should have.
Why have they not?
Oh, right.
Yeah.
I don't know.
They could replace the whole squad, I think, for that.
I saw that come out, and then I saw a report for the Mail saying...
Are they not getting Emil Smith-Rowe to replace him?
Imagine.
A report from the Mail saying that a deal could happen next week, so... we'll see how that is. But they obviously mean business now. It's not like a rumour anymore. This looks like it's going to happen.
Yeah. Thank God Smith-Rowe signed a new contract when he did.
If they make, if that bid is real, which as it looks like it is, you can't see Villa turn that down. It's a ridiculous amount of money for a guy who's mid-20s, whatever he is, 24, 25. About to head into his prime. He's got 4 years probably left on his contract. He only signed last September. When he said, "It's my club, it's my home," or whatever to Villa. Yeah, but you can't blame him though, and you can't blame Villa if they accept it, and you can't blame him for going. It's a massive price tag.
Yeah.
Again, you say English tax. He couldn't even get in the England starting 11. He's going for 100 million.
It's ridiculous.
The same as Sancho, 70 odd million. Couldn't get in the England team. Not that England team's bad, and I'm not trying to say it is, but to go for that amount of money and you can't even start for your country is amazing, really. What talent England must have. Shame they didn't show that in the final against Italy, but we won't talk about that. So yeah, it looks like it's going to happen, and it could be interesting to see where he fits in.
Yeah, well, I do have in my notes here. It could have been a bit like the Fabian Delph situation 6 years ago, but actually, 100 million, they've got to accept it. He's going to go in the amount.
It's a crazy amount of money.
Yeah.
I like Jack Grealish. I think he's a fantastic player. He brings flair. He's exciting. I think he's done fantastic things at Villa. He did some good things for England at the Euros, but nothing amazing.
No,
I don't think he probably spent enough time on the pitch to be anything more than that.
Yeah.
So, it's a lot of money. Villa have to accept that. Well, they don't have to, but I think they'd be mad not to.
Yeah.
I think it's a similar situation a few years ago to the Gareth Bale situation. Okay, I'm not going to compare Bale and Grealish because Bale achieved a lot. Grealish hasn't got there yet, but could do certainly at Man City. But Spurs had the funds to really transform their team. Okay, I think Eric Lamela leaving last week was the final one, and they didn't really spend that money that wisely. But I think Villa, to be fair, brought in Emi Buendia, who could possibly be not a like-for-like replacement because he's not that good, but be a sort of positional replacement, and we'll have 100 million to go and bring some players in. And to be fair, if we look at Aston Villa and their recruitment in the last sort of year, 18 months, it's been really good. They brought in some fantastic players, and they achieved a great position in the league last year. So it'd be a massive disappointment for Villa. It'd be a massive signing for Man City. It'd be interesting to see how he fits into the Guardiola way of playing. But yeah, again, it's another exciting signing for the neutrals to see how that plays out, and I can't see it not happening now.
The thing that always pops into my head when a big player signs for Manchester City is the fact that they always seem to rotate their teams around a lot. So could that I'm not going to say annoy Grealish, but I don't think he'd be happy with that. He was the main man at Villa, and at Man City, he could well be, like some of the other bigger players are, a squad player.
Yeah, no, you're right. There's not many people that start every single game for City in a season. No one ever starts 38 games in a season for City unless it's the goalie, if he's fit. So no, you're absolutely bang on there. I was going to actually say that before you brought it up, so you just second guess me.
But you also can't win the Premier League and Champions League at Aston Villa.
No.
Or cement his England place.
It's a tough one. It's interesting to see where he plays, because Sterling obviously plays off the left. Grealish likes to play off the left. Foden has been playing off the left a bit for City.
Yeah.
but obviously he could potentially play off the right, play a bit deeper maybe. Bernardo Silva, there's talk of him potentially going because maybe not happy in Manchester or whatever. I'd have him at Arsenal if he wanted to move down to London.
Yeah, absolutely.
Don't blame him.
And there's Mahrez as well. They're more the opposite side, so they're well stocked, aren't they? And they've got Ferran Torres as well. We can't forget about. So potentially they're going to be going very much with a false nine, because I know we're going to talk about next transfer, but with all these, attacking midfielder type players rather than actual strikers, it could be that they're going with the false nine. But as I said, we're going to talk about.
Yeah, we will get onto that. Yeah. With Bernardo Silva, is that a personal thing, or is that is there anything to do with the fact that he maybe doesn't get the minutes that he wants to?
I don't know. I've just seen reports that he's not that happy in Manchester,
right. So
like where he's living.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it is. Whether anyone will actually afford to sign him is a different matter. But he's been linked with going to Spain and stuff like that.
There'll be a lot of clubs that would like him, I think.
Yeah. He was good a couple of years ago. Had a really, really good season. The season before last, perhaps when Liverpool won the league, or the one before that. Last season he wasn't as productive, and I don't know. We'll see how that goes.
I think a lot of players do have decent seasons for Man City, but there tends to be usually a standout player that will steal the attention. Usually it's Aguero. Last season and it was Foden. I think Mahrez
Sterling a couple of years ago.
Sterling a couple of years ago. There's always that one player, and I think it is harsh on Bernardo Silva that he doesn't. From what I've seen, he doesn't get the minutes that maybe he deserves, because there is so many other top players in and around that squad. And I think, like I said, it might well be the way with Grealish. If he doesn't start well, 2 or 3 games in, he's out, and he's on that carousel as such of players they've got.
The only difference, as we've said before with City, is they've never spent more than 65 million on a single player, and they're going to be spending 100 million on one in Grealish. So perhaps that may make a bit of a difference.
Matt, you were shaking your head there. You don't think he'll be out if he has a few bad performances?
Do you buy a player for 100 mil and bin him out after 3 games? I don't know. I've got full faith in him. I think if he went there, it'd be outstanding for him, and I think they have as well. That's why they're putting that sort of money together on the table. Yeah, like I've already said, it's a bid that Villa cannot turn down, unless they've got some sort of plan where they feel that they're gonna be a Champions League club next year. And I'm not sure that whatever players they bring in, they're going to be able to topple another 6 or 8 in front of them.
Well, I think they need to sign 7 or 8 very good players, and it's not going to happen. So,
yeah, I think Man City are going to have an abundance of attacking talent that aren't central strikers or centre forwards. Obviously, Aguero's moved on. There has been talk early in the window of Sterling and Mahrez becoming part of swap deals and things like that, and whether they're surplus to requirements, because you look at a Foden and Grealish playing wide of a central striker or of a false 9. They're certainly ones to start, but Sterling had an outstanding Euros, didn't he? So whether, I'm not sure that would have changed Pep Guardiola's mind, is whether he was thinking of moving him on, but it'd be interesting. I don't think you can have too much talent. I think if you're Man City and if you're Guardiola and you feel like you can manage the players, that they're all going to be happy with their minutes they get in, then go for it. I think last year there was a lot of talk about the quadruple. Obviously, they ended up with the League Cup and the Premier League. They lost in the semi-final of the FA Cup. They lost in the final of the Champions League. So bringing in someone like Grealish and one other who we'll talk about in a minute will certainly strengthen their chances of winning the quadruple, and they win the League Cup every year. So there's only 3 more to win.
Well, we talk about Grealish, someone that can play either side of a main striker. Now Aguero's he's left. Harry Kane. There was a lot of talk about him before the Euros. He did that interview with Gary Neville where we thought, right, he must be fishing for a move here, and since then it's gone pretty quiet. I think Daniel Levy's going to be content with his work so far.
He still wants to go. That is the...
absolutely. I don't doubt he does.
All the reports saying he still wants to go. He's still on holiday, so he's not back till Monday. All the England players get back to their clubs on Monday. if they haven't already. Obviously Ben White, but he didn't need as long a holiday. He didn't play. So maybe things will start picking up from Monday because he's back at the training ground, be able to see the new manager for the first time, have a chat. And stuff's more likely to happen when he's in the country, or I don't know where he's been, if he's been away or whatever. But when you're around the club, stuff's more likely to happen.
On a well-earned break.
Yeah, I can't see. But I can't see him leaving. I can't. If City are spending this much, I can't see any other club.
No.
Signing him. I can't see United doing it now.
No.
Chelsea, no chance.
Well, especially if they bring Haaland.
Well, yeah, obviously, but obviously he'd be an alternative, but Tottenham would want a similar price to what Haaland is, and Kane's 7 years older, so you wouldn't do that. You might as well go for Haaland. I'd like to see Kane go to City, but I can't see it happening.
No.
It's got a bit quiet, as you said.
Yeah.
Hopefully it'll pick up next week or so, in the next few weeks. I think he's going to miss the start of the season actually because of fitness and stuff like that.
Oh, he'll be back.
And they're playing City on the first day, aren't they? Which is interesting that he's going to miss that game.
Who will he play for?
None of them.
No, probably no. I'll tell you what, with Harry Kane, I feel like if he wants to force a move, he's going to have to go into the manager's office and demand it. And he doesn't strike me as that type of
It's not the manager who decides. You've got to go and leave his office.
I've actually heard and I think I've said to you, I've heard a couple of interesting insights. One from the just general football world and someone actually well in the know. Had been suggested by a former recent assistant manager at a Premier League club that the deal had been done for a while, or a deal of some description had been done for a while.
For Kane to City?
Yeah.
Right.
So just someone who's recently left their job as a Premier League assistant manager suggested that.
Right, okay.
But also saying an unofficial line out of Spurs was that there is no deal done, and they're very keen on obviously keeping him. Doesn't say that a deal won't be done. And I kind of feel if Man City really want him, by the end of the transfer window, he will be a Manchester City player if they want him.
So maybe a bit of cat and mouse going on at the moment.
Interesting. Look, the interview prior to the Euros, the interview with Gary Neville was very telling. It was very honest. Harry Kane has I'll be honest, I quite warmed to him over the Euros, and I know maybe Lewis didn't as much. I was really pleased for how he did, and certainly wanted England to win, but also wanted him to do well. That was sort of pretty hard as an Arsenal fan. But his interview with Gary Neville was so honest, and I think he's got to a point now where his loyalty for Spurs is there, but at the same time. Now he's starting to be a little bit selfish, and it's the selfishness that probably a lot of football fans have been scratching their head and wondering where it was for the last 3 or 4 years.
Because, we have,
So as an Arsenal fan, of course, I would be delighted if he moved on from Spurs because he's a fantastic centre forward.
And he scores against us every single game.
Well, there is that, but also at the same time, it would be extremely exciting to see what he did at a club like Manchester City. I think they're probably the only club, like Lewis said, that they could go to right now. I'm not sure Man United are gonna spend that sort of money.
No.
He certainly isn't going to go to Chelsea. He isn't going to go abroad. I think PSG are probably the only club who could, but I'm not sure footballing wise he would want to go there. So I think it's Man City or he stays. I think I'm not going to blame him, but obviously recently he signed a quite a long term deal in the last sort of 18 months, 2 years. So he's still got a few years left on there, and Spurs are well within their rights to sort of say no, you ain't going. But at the same time, I think he's given a lot of loyalty to Spurs.
Oh yeah,
I think it's no fault of his that they've not won a trophy.
Yep.
He's consistently come up with the goals and the performances, and in recent years really become an all-round centre forward, not just a goal scorer or a scorer of great goals. He really is the all-round package now. So I think if he does knock on the manager's door or Daniel Levy's door and says, look, this is what I've done this for you now, and and I really want to take the next step in my career, and you're going to get a very good financial package for me, then I think for all parties it's probably the best way to go. Spurs are in a transitional period, and he said that himself, and I know we've spoken about it before. So why can't they go and spend 150 million on really bringing in some new players that the manager wants, and they're gonna put Spurs going forward again, and actually put this sort of saga to bed. Because if it doesn't happen now, it certainly will rekindle itself again in January and again in the summer.
It'll keep coming.
And the money they can demand for will be less, because it'll be another year or another 6 months down on his deal. And there's no doubt about it, he'll still be scoring goals.
Again, he's not the youngest, so he'll definitely want to push for a move away. Thing I was going to say is obviously Haaland to Chelsea looking unlikely. If City were to get Kane and Grealish, I think they'd run away with the league.
Yeah, it'd be a bit unfair, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
I would dread playing Man City next season as an Arsenal fan if they're both of them players. But it'd be interesting if City get Kane and Chelsea get Haaland. It'd be, I think that would be quality. I think Haaland's probably got. It'd be interesting to see how it goes in the Premier League. But he can be equally as good a signing as Kane would be for City, in my opinion. So that would be an unbelievable battle.
I think if that were to happen, I think we'd be entering a new era of the Premier League. I think the early 2000s, when you had the likes of Shearer, you had Henry, Rooney just starting coming through, Ronaldo coming through, you had those attacking players. Maybe the last few years we've seen Aguero. We haven't seen too many standout players, but if Haaland, Kane to City, I tell you what.
Be good to see the top players in the world come to the Premier League again. You're right. Messi and Ronaldo have been, Ronaldo's been away for 12 years now. Messi never been in the Premier League. The top strikers around the world, Lewandowski's never played Premier League. But to get a player like Haaland at 21 would be unbelievable, and then see Kane play at one of the top clubs in the league as well.
Haaland would stay for his career, I reckon. If he did come,
it'd be interesting.
Big
it depends how Real Madrid's financial situation goes and whether they get Mbappe. He's another one you'd love to see in the Premier League. Mbappe would be unbelievable. It's like I said, he's not quite on the same level as Varane, but he's one of them players you think, I can never see him play in the Premier League, because you always think he's going to go to Real Madrid, that kind of thing. But so if Haaland came, that'd be quality for the league, just not for the teams who've got to play against him, because especially Arsenal.
No, that would be
light years behind the team, behind them teams.
That'd be 6 or 7-0.
It wouldn't be great.
Right. I think we'll move on to the last couple of players we'll talk about. Very much both rumours again, and that's James Maddison or Martin Odegaard to Arsenal. Now, first thing I'm going to ask you is, who do you prefer out of the two? I think there's a lot of talks about both. For me, I think Odegaard, with the financial situation that Real Madrid are in, is probably the more likely one. I think Leicester will be very reluctant to let someone like Maddison go. But then again, I've also heard certain rumours, that Maddison might want to move away from Leicester. So both very much up in the air at the moment. Which of the two do you think will come off, Lee, if there is one?
Odegaard's much more likely.
Yep.
He's half the price, which is another reason. He'd also be available potentially on a loan, which Maddison obviously never will be. So there's two options there. Arsenal can sign him for, they're saying, roughly 35 million, or another loan deal. I'd take him on a permanent. I saw interesting tweet today saying how getting Odegaard for 35 million and let him have a settled club, a permanent new home, would be fantastic, because he's had all these loans. He's played for so many different clubs. He's never actually had a settled club where he's played for season in, season out at all in his professional career. He's never done it.
Right, okay.
Because he's went around Real Madrid at 15, 16, never played for them regularly. Yeah. He's played 11 games for them in total in his whole career. He's played for Sociedad, he's played for Arsenal. I can't remember the teams he's played for. Probably, I can't remember some of them, but he just needs to... I can't remember. It might have been Holland he might have gone to.
He's been around a bit.
It just needs to have a settle, find a new home and that kind of thing. And I think I think Arsenal could be the place for him.
Yeah.
We can't dine at the top table anymore at the minute, Arsenal. But perhaps he's a player that, if he finds a club, as I said, with a permanent home, he can fulfil his potential that he showed glimpses of last season.
Yeah, emphasise the word glimpses, because for me, there was maybe a couple of games he was decent, and then there was a fair bit of that spell. Maybe I expected too much from him coming over, and obviously he's still a young player. Let's not forget that. In the Premier League for only 6 months, and there was no real time to acclimatise to it. Maybe I was a little bit harsh, but yeah, if he does fulfil that potential, I think it'll be a great move. Matt, would you agree with that? Do you think Odegaard's more likely?
More likely, because I think the financial issues. Maddison's a maverick. I'd just love to see him in an Arsenal shirt. I think he's got some quality. I think he's hit a bit of a rocky spell at Leicester, but there's no doubt in his quality and his talent.
No.
Maybe, a change of club, coming to Arsenal could sort of bring that back again. I think he's a superb player. Leicester done well last year, but he obviously had a little bit of off the field problems, and didn't really feature as much in the second half. I think even in some of their bigger games, he was on the bench, wasn't he? Which actually you would imagine he's a sort of assuring to start every week, but
should be.
Yeah, I think he's got some great qualities. I think he's a really good ball carrier, probably better than Odegaard at that. Odegaard's certainly better at getting the ball in the half turn and probably picking a pass.
Set pieces as well, Maddison.
Yeah, look, if there wasn't, if you could just choose one and it wasn't a financial issue, I personally would go for Maddison.
I'd agree with that.
But I also understand the situation. Leicester are not going to take anything less than 60 mil, it looks like. But when Arsenal have already spent 50 mil on Ben White and spent money on other players, and will certainly need to bring in other players, and I think they're linked with some other players and some expensive ones at that. So, look, yeah, I think I would love to see Maddison. I wouldn't be disappointed to see Odegaard, because I think, like you said, there was some glimpses last year. Still, for me, I would have Emile Smith-Rowe over Odegaard.
Yeah, definitely.
Because I think he is that more ball carrier on get the ball dribble with. Where I don't think Odegaard is necessarily that player, but he certainly brings something to the team. If we can get him on a loan, that'd be great.
Yep.
If we, in terms of the financial side, and it'll allow Arsenal to spend their money elsewhere, which they still need to.
Yeah, we like loaning players from Madrid.
Yeah, but again, I'd say if it was up to me and the money was no object, I'd have James Maddison all the time.
Just quickly on that though, you said Maddison's a bit of a maverick. I agree with you. We've seen Arteta doesn't really get on particularly well with any sort of divisive figures. I think I'd say Guendouzi is one that comes into my head straight away. Maybe if he did come, that relationship between player and manager wouldn't quite be there, and if they did fall out, it might be another take on that.
Maybe I think when I say he's a maverick, I think he's more. I don't know. He's just
only because you did say he sat out on a few big games on the bench.
Did,
so
yeah. I think he had a couple of errors of judgment. Sorry, over the throughout the season, and obviously was punished by Brendan Rodgers, which is fair enough.
Similar with Aubameyang as well.
Yeah,
Arsenal.
For sure. Look, Arsenal have had their own issues, and they've been dealt with properly and in the right way.
Yep.
I just like him. I think he comes across as I think I've seen a couple of interviews the way he does, the way he dresses. I saw him with some outrageous bag he was wearing. Like, he just is a little bit different.
I remember that. Yeah.
I think that's the way he carries himself on the pitch as well. The way he plays. I think he's got that little bit of quality. Like you said, set pieces are very good. Arsenal have been crying out for someone to take a set piece.
Absolutely, yeah.
And there's been a lot of change in the last few years in terms of player turnover at Arsenal, especially in those sort of areas of the pitch. And there still hasn't found anyone who is really quality at delivering a set piece or taking a free kick.
Yep.
So certainly, bring that to the team. But Yeah, you're right in a way, because maybe that isn't what Arteta's after. And Arteta, as a younger manager, maybe not necessarily dealt with those players. I mean, you know, I've heard some quotes before when you're talking about those sort of types of players, and I think if we look back in the past, someone like maybe like an Eric Cantona sort of figure, it's not necessarily about it's about the manager dealing with them in the right way, not just dismissing them. You know, if Alex Ferguson dismissed Eric Cantona, doesn't sign Eric Cantona, Man United don't win Premier League.
No, absolutely, yeah.
You know, it's about a manager being able to adapt themselves and deal with that player and deal with what that player brings, because actually maybe the not issues off the pitch, but what the problems they could have off the pitch, you know, are far outweighed by the quality they bring on the pitch. And I'm not suggesting Maddison ability-wise anything like Cantona, or off the pitch is anything the problems that maybe Cantona would bring. But again, that's down to the manager, and maybe Mikel Arteta isn't experienced enough manager to deal with that. And if that's the case, then he's not necessarily the player for Arsenal.
Yeah, no, I do agree with those points. But, you know, especially about someone like Cantona coming in, a slightly different character. But it always, you know, with the signings he makes, and obviously, you know, getting rid of Guendouzi, got rid of Saliba, and you know, doesn't like he's going to get a look in anymore. It seems like to me, he's trying to build a unit. He's trying to build a togetherness in that squad, and someone like you know, anyone that steps out of line will be punished. And you know, Maddison does that.
I think bad eggs creep into every change room, whether you like it or not. Bad egg will creep into change room, and that could be you sign them and they are that sort of personality. Yeah. It could be due to not playing enough and they become that bad egg in the team, and it's down to, first of all, other players in the team to notice that. And I don't necessarily see that, even with someone like Guendouzi. He was always seemed like he was, you know, Lewis might tell me I'm wrong, but it seemed like he was a popular around the rest of the squad.
Yeah. He seemed like he was among the senior players straight away, wasn't he? Even though he was only 19 or 18.
He was a young player, but I guess possibly the French sort of connection. He ended up around Lacazette, Aubameyang, those sort of players. You know, so it's interesting. You know, going from personal experiences here. Now, often when there is a bad egg or bad character, you often see a lot of the squad end up realising this and sort of going against them. And in the end, you see the manager will know this or will clock onto this, and in the end, that player will move on.
Yeah,
you know, I've seen it firsthand happen at certainly a lot lower level. But you know, when you look at someone like Guendouzi, and that is a great example, because someone who come into the Arsenal team, done really well under previous managers, Mikel Arteta, you know, them two obviously didn't hit it off well. Mikel Arteta, I don't think it was an ability thing. I think it was more, you know, off the field and how he was. But, you know, I think it wasn't like he wasn't accepted by the other players, or they didn't think he was the right character, because, you know, all the stuff you saw, even when I think one of his loan spells, and they all commented on when he went to Hertha, maybe. I think there was lots of comments from the Arsenal players, you know, even a couple of comments that possibly suggest they're going against the manager and disappointed that he was going to go and whatnot. So,
I think
I don't think he was, you know, not liked at Arsenal. So it's interesting, and I say different managers deal with it in different ways. I think when you look at Mikel Arteta being an inexperienced manager, does he decide that any time there's a little bit of a could be confrontation or someone who's not not going to go by his rules, he gets rid of them rather than wanting to sort the issue out or confront it. You know, he's very much happy to just, we'll move him on, then we'll go with someone else, which sometimes works. But if Matteo Guendouzi decides he's going to be unbelievable at Marseille, you know, it might be one Arsenal miss.
Well, I won't dwell on him too much, but there was definitely one game a couple of years back now, obviously I haven't been for a while, that I came out of that thinking he could be a future Arsenal captain. He displayed those qualities, those skills early on, so it was very disappointing to see him go. And maybe those types of figures just aren't wanted in that sort of environment. And obviously, like you said, Arteta, young manager, and maybe he just hasn't had enough experience to be able to deal with those types of players.
Yeah, we don't know what they're like behind the scenes, really, do we?
No,
exactly. You hear reports and stuff. You just see that Guendouzi says what he says on the pitch to Neil Maupay, saying about how much he earns. That kind of thing, and they never played football for Arsenal again. So,
but do you not think that players wouldn't publicly come out in support of a teammate if they were a so-called bad egg? You You know,
No, but
you wouldn't go out of your way to, if you're Aubameyang and you're Arsenal club captain, you wouldn't go out of your way to tweet, Instagram, post about a player if you felt that actually they were a bad egg. You might tell them to, you might say, oh, we miss you and whatever, but actually you're not going to go out of your way saying, oh, we're gutted to see you go and, wish you all the best or whatever. I don't think that happens. So, interesting. Maybe there is that split. Aubameyang's not a, he's not a perfect example, is he? He's had a lot of problems, in his disciplines. Arsenal quite recently, but also when he was at Dortmund, he wasn't, perfect.
No, I think you're absolutely bang on with that. Right then, main section of this episode is coming to an end now. Before we get onto the Matt versus at the end, I did put out various polls in the last few days asking for questions over on Instagram. I did get a few back, so we'll start with Tom's question, which is actually very similar to what we've already been discussing, which is what do you think about Arsenal spending 15 million more on Ben White than United did on Varane? Now, we've already touched on this and we've said, possibly about English tax and the fact that, certainly Ben White's 5 or 6 years younger. There's various facts that play into it, I think.
It's good. Ben White's far better than Varane.
Yeah, that's what it's about.
That's it.
Yep.
We're going to win the league with Ben White. No, it's because White's got all these years in his contract. He's young, and Varane was in the last year. That's literally the only reason.
It's taken many years, but North London is now white.
Oh, God. Yeah. No, Tom, you're going to have to buy a centre-back now with all the Varelds gone. Yeah, right, we'll move on then to the second question from Chris. Again, something that we've sort of touched on this episode, and it said, do Man City need to strengthen to win the title considering Man United's buys? And now, today they are going to strengthen with Grealish and obviously Kane as well. But
the answer is no. For me, they don't need to strengthen.
No.
Will they? Yes.
Yeah.
And will they strengthen a lot?
The best teams always do.
Yeah. They've got a fantastic squad. They've got a squad that could win the league. Have they got a squad that could compete on all fronts? They've probably got the best chance. But the two players we spoke about will take them over the edge.
Yep. Agree?
Yeah, they don't need to really improve. The question there was because of Man United's buys. I don't think Man United have now got a better squad just because City haven't spent. They've got it's nowhere near as good as City's still, just because United have bought Sancho and Varane. So, no, they don't need to strengthen, but they will strengthen, even if it's just Grealish.
Well, the depth is still there, and it always seems to be there with City, so I'd agree completely with that. Next question is from George, and he said, if Grealish goes to City, how much would Villa struggle this season? Now, something we've already talked about, but I think it's fair to say Villa will definitely, miss Grealish. I think that's an obvious thing to say.
Yeah, they would, but they've got loads of money to replace him with. They've got Buendia, as Matt said already. Leon Bailey they're linked with, though I'm not sure how good he's done. Was it late? Is he a Leverkusen? Saw today James Ward-Prowse they've had a bid rejected for, according to David Ornstein.
Good player.
That would be a good signing.
Yeah. Not quite Grealish, but
I've also seen mate from my work, Ryan, said that they want Todd Cantwell, which could potentially be a replacement for Grealish. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I don't think they'll struggle. They'll get goals from Watkins, get goals from elsewhere.
Buendia.
Yeah.
Ghazi.
Got goal scorers in there, definitely.
Yeah, I think they should.
Villa are a good squad. I just feel they're always going to be Aston Villa.
Yeah.
Not bad.
Yeah.
Not fantastic. They I think they punched above their weight last year. A couple of years ago they were in the Championship. Don't forget that. Mm-hmm. The year before 100%. They should have gone down. If it wasn't for goal line technology messing up, they would have been in the Championship again last year. But instead they flipped it around and brought in some players. Be interesting to see the effect that John Terry leaving has on them.
Yes.
This year, because obviously he's played a big part in the last few years and their rise. They obviously got a manager who is done really well. Their recruitment is fantastic. The players they brought in. Lewis is right when they said if they get the money for Grealish, no doubt they'll spend it wisely in the areas they need to and bring in some quality. I'd imagine they'll probably have sort of a similar season to what they had last year. You know, they certainly should, and even without Jack Grealish, to be fair, he did miss quite a chunk of last season through injury.
Well, even over the last decade, like you said, Aston Villa probably been one of their worst decades in their history. They've been dropped down to the Championship for a while. They had I think 2 or 3 years in the Premier League where we thought they're going to go down this year. They're going to go down this year, and they just didn't. And then eventually, obviously, they did. And then selling Grealish to City, I think you're right. It puts them back in their place. It just reminds them they're Villa and they can't compete with those top clubs at the moment, or definitely for the foreseeable future anyway. We've got one from our friends at FPL Apprentices, and they've said, how big of an issue will COVID have on this season? We're already seeing some friendlies postponed. Now, I've got down here in my notes the Arsenal tour to America, and there's also, I think Premier League players do. I think it's a requirement they have to have the vaccine, if that helps.
I've no idea about that.
Yeah, I know a little bit more about it because obviously working sort of in the professional game, but I did see something the other day suggesting that the Premier League were possibly going to bring in a requirement that players must be double jabbed to play.
Sensible.
Now, I think as much as I could talk for us three, we're all very much keen to have the vaccine or have had the vaccine. People's views are different. And I speak from personal experiences that it's not always what everyone wants or feels is the right thing. It can create some difficult circumstances, and no doubt every Premier League club or every football club in the country is having the same sort of, I wouldn't call them problems, but same sort of discussions with their players right now in terms of the vaccine. I've seen certain companies saying that if you're not double jabbed, we're not going to employ you anymore. I don't know whether that's employers' rights. I think the PFA have announced that no club can force you to be vaccinated.
Okay, interesting.
I've heard a newly promoted Premier League club have supposedly told all their players if they don't get vaccinated, they'll be not paid or sacked potentially.
Right. Okay.
Which is obviously against the law or against the rules of their employment of the PFA or whatnot. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there, or whether players are just going to do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, in terms of how COVID works, I know for a fact on the National League, they've already set out in terms of games, and if so many games aren't played, or if we get to a certain stage and it's called off, what will be classified as a season complete, what will be classified as null and void. Let's hope we don't get to that. I think the top leagues are going to be alright, Premier Leagues, because they were alright during the last season. They completed the season before under strict COVID guidelines. Yeah. I think those top leagues are okay if it gets to that stage. Let's really hope that it doesn't get to that stage. But look, if the Premier League bring in that all players need to be vaccinated, it'd be interesting to see whether the Championship or the EFL follow suit. It'd be interesting. I don't know necessarily the employers or employees or rights in terms of players getting COVID. I know we have a very strict COVID protocol in place still at the football club, even though that the government's restrictions have been lifted. I think football in general are keeping that sort of protocols in because they feel it's the safest way to be. One case or one positive case could wipe out a whole squad, and then you're not playing games, or you're having to play your under 23s or whatnot. So I think we're certainly trying to do things in the right way, and I think probably a lot of clubs are. But again, I think it's inevitable that all clubs are gonna get positive cases, because I think we've seen cases rising recently. I think they're dropping again now. I try not to look too much, but it's going to happen, unfortunately, whether it's staff or players. And I hear lots of clubs and players that are picking it up. We're lucky at the minute we haven't, and we test regularly, and like all clubs are doing at the minute. So To what effect will it have on the season? Hopefully not a massive issue. I think we've gone so far now that the fans are back in. It looks like it's going to be full capacity crowds, which is going to be great, and hopefully that it won't have an effect on squads, because we want a level playing field throughout the season.
Yeah, well, that's the big worry. I think if you start losing players, 4 or 5 players, then teams are going to struggle, especially the teams with slightly smaller squads. I'm talking about maybe lower leagues, League 2, National League. Clubs would start to struggle. So hopefully it doesn't have too much of an impact on the season. But I think that's all we can say for now, and until later down the line, maybe 3 or 4 months. Who knows? We could be in another set of restrictions, and a lot of things have changed. But for now, just got to keep our fingers crossed that everything does stay the same, and obviously players can get vaccinated on the whole. But yeah, we'll move on then to our last question before we go on to Matt versus, and that's it's from Charlie. He said, what's your opinions on Jose Mourinho at Roma? How will he do, and will he win things? Now, something I've said here is he needs to prove himself again after that short reign at Tottenham, and just prove that it wasn't him. It was the Tottenham curse.
Well, it'd be good to see how he does. I'm glad he's not in the Premier League anymore. I was getting a bit bored of him, actually. Moaning every week. Roma are in the Europa Conference League, I think, so he could play against Tottenham at some point this season. So he's got no Champions League football over there. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I don't think he'll be competing for the title, put it that way.
Slightly different challenge again, isn't it?
Yeah, it's different. Fair play for Roma to get him. Lots of people thought perhaps he was finished after Tottenham. Yeah. But no, we'll see. How will he do? It's hard. It's hard to tell. Maybe he'll sneak him into the Champions League some point. This season. Maybe he'll win a trophy, and as you said, prove that the only club he ain't going to win a trophy at is Tottenham.
Hopefully,
that'd be quite nice. Actually,
it
would be quite nice. Yeah. So.
Yep. No, I agree with that. I don't think they'll contend for the title this year, Roma. Obviously, like you said, in the Conference League, so I don't really follow the Serie A. I don't think any of us do, but they kind of had a great year last year, if that's where they've ended up. So I think it'll be a good challenge for him.
My opinions on Mourinho is I don't have one, because I don't like him. And I don't think he'll do. I don't think Roma will pull up any trees next year, personally. Not if their top target is Granit Xhaka.
No. Well, if it looks like they're not going to get him now, so maybe they'll do better than. Maybe they'll do.
They can still have him. I wasn't saying that wasn't. They couldn't have him.
More than welcome. More than welcome to have him. Yeah. So yeah, we'll be interested to see how that goes. Right, that's our questions done for this week. I'll put another poll out next week, or another few polls to try and get some more questions in. That was a good set for this week. But now to finish off today's episode, the long-awaited, long-anticipated Matt versus returns. Like normal format. 10 questions, and you each have a buzzer. So Lewis, if you'd like to play yours first.
We cannot replace him.
In reference to our transfer rumours about Harry Kane potentially replacing Aguero. And Matt?
They have confirmed the signing of Brighton defender Ben White.
Yep, just thought I'd get that in there. Very pleased with the Ben White signing.
I thought that was Granit Xhaka. We cannot replace him.
No, good. I like that. Right. Are we ready? Question 1. At the age of 16... which Premier League club was Ben White released from?
They have confirmed the signing of Brighton defender Ben White.
That's Matt.
Current is it also a South Coast club? Southampton?
It's Southampton, yes.
Fair play.
It's 1-0 to Matt.
Fair play.
Question number 2. Who is the most expensive Premier League transfer of all time?
We cannot replace him.
It's Lewis.
Paul Pogba?
Correct. Paul Pogba. 1-0 after 2 questions. Nice. Question number 3. The last time Rafael Varane faced Manchester United was in a 2-1 second leg away win in the Champions League at Old Trafford in March 2013. Who scored the
They have
winning goal
confirmed
for
the
Real
signing
Madrid?
of Brighton defender Ben White.
Cristiano.
Correct. CR7 with that goal there, 1-0 down, brought it back.
How
to
did you know what he was
They
going to
wore
ask
like
there?
a grey black kit that night.
I mean, extra knowledge not required, but impressive. Right.
No, you get no bonus points for that.
Right, after 3 questions, Matt, you are 2-1 up. Question number 4. Manchester City have signed 6 players between the value of 50 and 60 million. Name 3.
They have confirmed the signing
Smart
of Brighton
again.
defender Ben White.
Ruben Diaz.
No. Over to Lewis.
What? He wasn't.
I think he was the most expensive at about 64 million or something like that.
Yep.
It's a hard question that you put there.
We cannot replace him.
Wasn't him.
I'm going to go for Kyle Walker's one.
No. That's it.
Well,
Right.
that's a blow.
Go on, who
There
were
was-
they?
Look-
Laporte.
There was 6 names.
Laporte's in there.
John Stones, Benjamin Mendy, Rodri,
Mendy.
Raheem Sterling, Aymeric Laporte, and João Cancelo.
How much was Walker then?
Walker was 47.
Yeah, but add some add-ons.
Right, yeah, that's we know Man City love their players between 50 and 60 million, so I thought that was a good one to throw in. So it's still 2-1 after 4 questions.
That was hard.
Question 5. Who are the only Premier League club Jose Mourinho has failed to win a trophy at?
We cannot replace him.
What do you think of Tottenham?
Yeah. Tottenham.
It's an easy one, but I couldn't resist. I've got to admit I was struggling. So 2-2 after 5 questions. Question number 6. Who has the better assists to game ratio? James Maddison or Martin Odegaard?
They have confirmed the signing of Brighton defender Ben White.
It's 50-50, so I'm going to go with James Maddison.
Incorrect.
Oh, no.
Obviously, Lewis.
Pass it over.
Yeah, but, you know, it's obviously Odegaard. It's got to be.
Was it?
I can't give you the point for
No, I know, but
that. Odegaard at
I
7.
was going to question what have you based it on? Just his whole career?
Premier League
Just Premier
You
League?
never said... Oh.
in the last season.
Well, you never said that. Because Maddison barely played.
Well, Odegaard, to be fair, I think he got 2 assists, if that. But
think-
anyway, one.
I think that's harsh to do the whole career, because if you remember, James Maddison started at Norwich and Odegaard spent some time in at Real Madrid and things like that.
But
with
anyway,
his better players.
Matt got it wrong. That's fine. So no, I don't get a point either. Let's go 2-2.
Just to add in there, Odegaard 7, Maddison 6.2.
It's basically the same.
What's 7? 7 what?
Well, that's assists to game.
You got
7
7
assists a game?
assists in the Premier League last year.
Oh, no. You assist every 7 games.
Yes.
Ugh. Why are we trying to sign him?
Right. Yeah, I was scraping the barrel there. 2-2. Question number 7. If Chelsea buy Erling Haaland, he will become their record transfer of all time. Currently, who are the 2 players
They have
that hold that
confirmed
value?
the signing of Brighton defender Ben White.
Don't get it wrong, Matt, because I've got it. I can't remember what the question was now. What was the question? Anyway, go on, carry on.
Kai Havertz.
Correct. Obviously now, Lewis, I can't pass this on.
I'm trying to get half a point.
No. Timo Werner.
Incorrect.
Ah.
No, it was Kepa.
Kepa.
Oh, yeah. What a terrible signing.
Yes, both at 72 million.
Scandalous.
So that is, I think it's 2-2. What was it?
It is still, yeah.
After 7 questions.
Getting tight.
Question number 8. Earlier this month, Brentford completed the signing of which Norwegian
They have
international?
confirmed the signing of Brighton
that's Matt
defender
again, yep.
Ben White.
Christoph Adja.
Yeah, I'll give you that. Yeah, Christopher.
13.1 million.
Knowledge.
Erling Haaland.
3-2 then, after 8 questions. Number 9. Who is the most expensive English footballer in history?
We cannot
Oh, no. No.
Harry Maguire.
Correct.
Love it.
3-3 then.
No.
On to the 10th question.
Not who am I?
It's not who am I.
Oh, thank God for that.
I've changed it up. I thought about it and then I was like, no, I'm not going to. It is a difficult question for the 10th question.
It's just a normal question, is it?
It's a normal question for the last one. In which decade was the last time Brentford were in the top flight of English football?
We confirmed the signing of Brighton defender Ben White.
We all know that was me.
I'm going to say Lewis.
Now, I'm struggling. I'm between three.
Why don't we both say one? No, you can't.
Yeah, but if I get my one right, I win.
No, at the same time. You can't.
On 3?
No.
5 seconds.
1950s.
Incorrect.
1940s.
Correct.
Oh, no. Keep it coming.
The 1946-47 season.
It was close.
That's
Dad
a
went
long
to
time.
a lot of games that season, I think.
So that last time, Lou, you took the last one 4-3. Matt takes this one 4-3.
Collymore closing in.
Well, we've just about come to the end of this episode, and it's been nice to get back together as a three to record today's episode. I know myself and Lewis, we've obviously enjoyed doing it together, but there's been something missing without a third person.
It's hard without
being
Matt, because when you haven't got Matt...
We cannot replace him.
Absolutely perfect. That video is made for that moment. So yeah, no, it's been another good episode, and I think heading into the season now, obviously, are we 2 weeks? I think we're 2 weeks away from the
2 weeks tonight.
2 weeks tonight before Brentford against Arsenal. So hopefully either next week, if not next week, the week after, we'll have a Premier League special coming for you guys. And obviously heading into the season, we'll have Matt on a more regular basis and maybe get a few guests. Well, hopefully get a few more guests on when we get a little bit more time. But yeah, that's about it. Make sure to watch out for hints and clues on social medias as to what could be included in that episode. And obviously, make sure to fill out the polls and the questionnaires so we can answer your questions on the next episode of the pod. But for now, thank you very much and keep talking football.